Let Obamacare fail. Trump promises eventual replacement for medical insurance law after Senate bill collapses, but says it will require current system to fall apart first. Donald Trump pledged Tuesday morning that the nation will eventually have a working substitute for the teetering Obamacare system, hours after a prohibitive number of Republican senators withdrew from a plan to replace it. "We were let down by all of the Democrats and a few Republicans," the president tweeted. "Most Republicans were loyal, terrific and worked really hard. We will return." Trump has said during both his campaign and his presidency that the national medical insurance scheme left in place by the Obama-era Affordable Care Act will eventually topple on its own as costs spiral and insurers pull out of marketplaces. On Tuesday he returned to that line, suggesting that the most workable approach will be either to repeal the law or allow the status quo to crumble, with either result forcing Congress to work on something new. "As I have always said, let Obamacare fail and then come together and do a great healthcare plan. Stay tuned," Trump tweeted. Trump said in March, as House Republicans regrouped following their own failed first attempt at an Obamacare scrapping law, that "I've been saying for the last year and a half that the best thing we can do politically speaking is let Obamacare explode. It is exploding right now." The president argued that an Obamacare-sized vacuum in health care policy would force Democrats to the table, but also would carry a human cost as Americans scrambled to establish coverage in the meantime. "Perhaps the best thing that could happen is exactly what happened today," Trump said then, "because we'll end up with a truly great health care bill in the future after this mess known as Obamacare explodes." On Tuesday morning Trump suggested in a second pair of tweets that the Senate has become racked with inertia because most legislation requires a 60-vote supermajority to move forward. With only a very small majority, the Republicans in the House and Senate need more victories next year since Dems totally obstruct, no votes. He wrote. The Senate must go to a 51-vote majority instead of current 60 votes. Even parts of full repeal need 60. 8 Dems control Senate. Crazy. Healthcare legislation has already been proceeding under an obscure process called reconciliation, which allows a simple 51-vote majority to pass legislation that impacts government spending or taxes. Ohio Representative Jim Jordan, a conservative member of the House Freedom Caucus, defended the idea of the repeal first, replace later approach on Tuesday morning. "It's a good idea because it's what we told the American people we were going to do, and what they elected us to do," he said on CNN's New Day program. "It's the same thing we passed last Congress," he observed, adding, "If it was good enough last Congress, why isn't it good enough this Congress when it really counts?" Jordan emphasized that the bill he favors would have a 2-year sunset for the Obamacare law. "But you've repealed it, and say the effective date is in the future." On Monday night a pair of GOP senators announced their opposition to a repeal and replace package, leaving Republicans plainly short of the 50 votes they needed to pass it. Trump, who was blindsided by the defections, pushed a clean slate approach on Twitter. "More Republicans should just repeal failing Obamacare now and work on a new healthcare plan that will start from a clean slate. Dems will join in," he predicted. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell had hoped to push the Better Care Reconciliation Act, BCRA, through the Senate next week. Jerry Moran of Kansas and Mike Lee of Utah both announced their opposition shortly after Trump concluded a White House meeting with other wavering lawmakers. McConnell said in a statement that the Senate would move to pass a House bill that sets a 2-year sunset for Obamacare, giving Congress ample time to design something that would go in its place. Regretfully, it is now apparent that the effort to repeal and immediately replace the failure of Obamacare will not be successful, McConnell said. So, in the coming days, the Senate will vote to take up the House bill with the First Amendment in order being what a majority of the Senate has already supported in 2015 and that was vetoed by then-President Obama, a repeal of Obamacare with a 2-year delay to provide for a stable transition period to a patient-centered healthcare system that gives Americans access to quality, affordable care.